I think that all these tools will definitely make the industry better. I mean, it's almost like when you look at the old carbons and copper controllers versus a printed circuit board, a controller that's the size of like a dishwasher versus something that used to be the size of a refrigerator. Like the progress is happening if we like it or not. And,
For sure.
these items are just valuable tools, and the faster independents could work with them, the better, because the OEMs are going to have this stuff and they're designing it themselves, and they're going to be ahead of the race because they got the dollars to do so. So I think the independents have to really focus and look into these tools because you don't want to be left behind,
Sure. I mean, and it sounds like people are making these tools available to them, right? So it's like, okay, if you subscribe to this service or whatever, then you've got, troubleshooter in the pocket, and you can just pull it out on your phone and it'll walk you through some of this, so it could be very advantageous to have those tools. Hello, and welcome to the Elevator Careers Podcast, sponsored by the Allred Group. I am your host, Matt Allred. In this podcast, we talk to the people whose lives and careers are dedicated to the vertical transportation industry to inform and share lessons learned, building upon the foundation of those who have gone before to inspire the next generation of elevator careers. When talent is mission critical, call the Allred Group. With industry expertise, top talent, and exceptional customer service, you need the Allred Group on your side. Your priority is their priority. Call now, 404-890-0445. In this conversation, Don Gelestino shares key points of the presentation that he gave last year at the International Elevator and Escalator Symposium. Don is on the road again this fall. He recently spoke at the NAAC Expo 2025, Interlift 2025, and he will be presenting again at the IEES in Buenos Aires in December. Don emphasized the importance of adapting to technological advancements, the challenges posed by supply chain issues, and the growing focus on sustainability. Looking ahead, Don predicts a future where predictive maintenance and AI play crucial roles in the industry, while also highlighting the enduring value of independent operators. Don, welcome to the show. Let's start with a little bit about you. You've been in the elevator industry, what is it, 38 years?
Yeah. 38, now 39, and soon will be 40.
Awesome. And obviously you've kind of done it all. I mean, you went from helper to mechanic to owner to, you sold it and then you became an owner again, and obviously CEO, president. You've seen a lot of different angles and obviously witnessed a lot of this consolidation. And so that's kind of why I wanted to start was, do you think consolidation overall has helped improve safety, efficiency, or do you think it's I don't know, mixed bag maybe?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of a mixed bag because the consolidators, when they're the large OEMs, obviously they have some of the best safety practices and policies, and it's very standardized. So I think from a safety perspective, the consolidation, I think that's one of the pluses of a consolidated, because I do think the safety standard is usually elevated. It's very far and few in between that a small mom and pop company or even a decent sized company is going to have a better safety program than a large OEM, or is sometimes they have more capital to put together a safety program. There may be other areas where they're lacking, but from a safety perspective, I think it's enhanced by the consolidation.
Yeah. So what would you say are some areas that maybe then it's not positive? It's not a win.
Well, I do think that, cultural shifts, like look, the mom and pops may have fishing trips and may have maybe picnics and little things like that, where, when you're a global player, this stuff, they may have it by a branch level. It'll probably be kind of ticked and tied into this is what you have for your use, and might end up at the end of the day turning into a pizza party on a Thursday. You know what I'm saying? So, but listen, you got the safety net of working for a major, owner that, you're getting a paycheck, that you got good benefits, that where some of the small mom and pops maybe listen, people are flying, paycheck to paycheck. And so, everything has its pros and cons.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, and obviously you talk a good bit about globalization and some of the I guess the vulnerabilities, the opportunities. What would you say that opportunities are created, or even vulnerabilities for maybe U.S. service providers?
Yeah, well, it really happens. A lot of it happens at the material level with manufacturing and material. When you have my belief is when you have major globalization, when one major sector or company owns such a big majority, and then you have an industry that relies so much on that material, that's where you can have these situations where an OEM or a larger buyer of that can cut better deals than smaller companies. It makes it harder, I believe, for the independently owned and operated companies to compete with the OEMs. It's definitely a dynamic that needs to be looked at and understood a lot better. A lot of independent companies, they may say like, oh, I can't really bid a job against Otis, Schindler, Thyssen and Kone. I'm just not competitive. But they don't understand really why and where it comes from and how it happens. They just know that, hey, all of my parts cost X and their elevator installed costs the same as my parts. How do they do it? But it's all these factors, and it does happen at a global level,
For sure. Yeah.
It really does happen at a local level.
Right. Well, and to your point, every penny adds up, right? So if you got a good deal here and a good deal here and a good deal here, then overall the package looks a lot different, or could look a lot different. And yet I still see independents, competing. So
Yeah,
it does happen, right? It's like, okay,
yeah.
they found some, some avenues, some niches, and sometimes people maybe they don't want to deal with one of the big players, right? Maybe they want somebody that maybe they can get a little more personalized attention. that's that's what.
Very important. And I got to tell you, from a relationship perspective, I feel my personal opinion is sometimes literally down to the mom and pop operation, literally like, hey, it's father was an elevator mechanic, brought his two sons in, and now there's four people. Mother does the payroll. Some of those little businesses could give better attention than the biggest of the big. They know everything about the elevator. They know everything about, so it's literally like when you pick up a phone, it's like your elevator person. Like they know it. It isn't like, oh, what's your client ID number? What borough, what state are you in? Like, so you can never minimize the power and the ability of an independent. Sometimes developers will go for rock bottom price. And because when they're done, that building's going to some ownership, and that ownership's going to have the maintenance on it, and developers over in another city building something else. But some of them I consider educated developers or educated owners, or they're going to be the end user of that building and that elevator, and they do not want proprietary equipment. They recognize that, sometimes bigger isn't better, and they go for the independents. And the independents, when you look at a globalized market, and even in the US market, the independents actually have a big majority share of the overall
And I
market.
saw that, like, what, 55% considered
Yeah,
independent.
where yeah, I'd have to look now, but they move. It stays pretty consistent. But they're big, and there's a reason for it. And even when these consolidations happen, Champion Elevator bought 14 companies in a 2.5 year period. When you take people and companies, some people don't want to come over. Some people you don't want over. So what happens is people fall off. They start up companies or they go to other companies. So there's always going to be that cycle. It isn't going to be like the consolidator is going to take every person and everything. So there's always going to be kind of like a resurgence of new independence. It's the only game that I believe makes a big difference is the insurance. As all these companies, consolidate, and they are able to buy insurance at a better rate because now they have 10,000 elevators on service. The rate per worker is a lot cheaper when you have 1,000 workers, right?
Okay.
So what happens is the smaller independents are kind of getting really hit with a high rate, which makes them it's another thing on top of the material, makes them less competitive.
Gotcha.
Technically, if everybody had to provide an actual, like, let's say the government said everybody in the elevator business has to be at 25% margin, you would see the prices for the independents way more than the prices for the OEMs because their costs are just so much more. So you can't think an independent is going to end up cheaper, but you could have great service.
I was going to say,
So,
you may get the time, the attention
yeah,
that you want. I mean, and it's hard to say, of course, but
yeah, it's something that you got to pay for.
yeah. What I guess one question on this subject is, you mentioned that maybe some independents don't want to bid against majors. Do you feel like they maybe sell themselves short at times and maybe need to go head to head more often, or I mean, or do they just need to remember what their strengths are and play to those strengths?
Yeah, I do believe it depends on the company. It depends on kind of their style, their dynamic, kind of their geographic footprint even.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bad to compete with the OEMs. I really don't, especially, 20 years ago, very hard to compete with the OEMs. Now you have people stepping up, creating products that are an alternative. And having that availability does give a independent contractor a little bit of a competitive advantage.
So let's talk a little bit about technology. It's obviously a big game changer. There's rope free. There's IoT. There's drones. Right? I didn't know about that. I didn't even know some of this stuff
You can't
existed. But
make it up. You
yeah,
can't
yeah.
make
So I'm curious, from your perspective, what's real now versus still sci-fi? I mean, are
Yeah.
are drones really being used on installation?
I'll tell you, so funny enough, like the Rise robotic installation
I did.
system
Yeah, I
for
watched that
by
video.
Schindler, like that is happening. Like they are doing that. And that's, you can't make it up. It's going to be better, safer. I'm sure. I
It's
mean, I
gonna
don't know.
put some people on the bench for sure, right? I'm like, dang,
I
that's
think,
that's
yeah.
a crew right there.
I don't know if these are going to be union robots or non-union robots, but I know it's not going to make some people happy. But, when you're talking, AI and you're talking robots, this stuff is precision. Like I remember doing rails and you're dropping plumb bobs and piano wire and you're doing things and you were good. And I was pretty good, but like there were guys that were great rail guys, right? You got this robot for the Rise product. It's going to be within probably 100,000ths of an inch. Maybe,
Precise,
maybe something
sure.
like we could be within 10,000. Like these things are perfection. So that's what you're competing with. And again, it's probably making the overall industry safer and um, maybe mechanics will be focused more on, different parts of the field. One of the things I know that's happening right now that is absolutely amazing is troubleshooting software. I mean, I literally seen a software a week or two ago that can take a blueprint and you could dial in and it will talk to you like you will think it's a person talking to you.
My
You'll say,
gosh.
you'll say, I got a Schindler 311 and I need to know the voltage on this terminal. And it'll say to you, the voltage should be 12 volts DC. And you say, oh, I'm only getting 9 volts. Oh, you should check this contact or this printed circuit. I mean, it's bizarre.
Wow.
Like, so,
Wow.
but that's happening. Like me being my age with the gray beard, I would think that that's sci-fi, but it's
Really happening.
happening.
Yeah, yeah. What's
Yeah,
amazing about that, I mean, it's just from a talent perspective, I mean, the people that know that are, they're retiring out pretty fast, right? And it feels like, from my perspective, trying to fill some of these roles, it's like, where do you find those guys, right? I mean,
yeah,
and we're not producing them as fast as we're retiring them out. So, I know of a company that they're on the phones all the time, right? They're kind of like your little app you're talking about, but they're the ones saying, well, you need to check this and check that, and helping people walk through. because yeah, troubleshooters, they're not being minted at the rate that they're leaving.
Yeah, that's true. And that's why, like, it's funny because I've been in different meetings where, people present this AI and then, some of the people's, like the field people, like, that stuff's going to put us out of a job. But no, the reality is that can actually help your job. Well, you got to look at it different ways. When I seen some troubleshooting software where, let's say, you know, in Manhattan, if you have a supervisor for 7 mechanics and you're covering, 500 elevators, if someone's having a problem, what's happening with the other guys if they have a problem? There is software that, like AI stuff, that'll help these other people to learn faster. I'll give you a great example. Like, they could take all of their documents that they've ever created that they have stored and download that stuff into AI. And then there's programs that could read all of that and will know all of that. And even if you were a technician with a blueprint in your hand, you are not going to find it as fast. It's just going to make a mechanic's life easier from the knowledge perspective. This way, my opinion is, instead of spending 3 of your 8 hours a day trying to figure things out, you'll actually be able to spend that extra time doing
Fixing it. Okay.
maintenance. The little things that need to be adjusted, the rollers, little things that there's certain parts of an elevator that no robot, no AI is ever going to be able to take care of. There's a human element that is needed for a lot of work. So I think that all these tools will definitely make the industry better. I mean, it's almost like when you look at the old carbons and copper controllers versus a printed circuit board, a controller that's the size of like a dishwasher versus something that used to be the size of a refrigerator. Like, the progress is happening if we like it or not.
For
And,
sure.
these items are just valuable tools, and the faster independents could work with them, the better, because the OEMs are going to have this stuff and they're designing it themselves, and they're going to be ahead of the race because they got the dollars to do so. So I think the independents have to really focus and look into these tools because you don't want to be left behind.
Sure. I mean, and it sounds like people are making these tools available to them, right? So it's like, okay, if you subscribe to this service or whatever, then you've got, troubleshooter in the pocket, and you can just pull it out on your phone and it'll walk you through some of this, so it could be very advantageous to have those tools.
Absolutely. It could be very helpful.
Hey everyone, thank you for listening. This is Matt with a brief message from our sponsor. The Allred Group has been recruiting elevator industry talent for over 14 years. If you are looking to grow your business and hire great people, contact the Allred Group at allredgroup.com. That's ALLREDGROUP.com, and talk with Matt and his team about how they can assist you. And now, back to the show.
Very cool. Sounds like on one hand, yeah, there's an element of sci-fi, but you know what? Sci-fi is becoming real probably faster than a lot of us even realize. And this stuff is happening. It is being implemented. It is affecting the market, even if you don't know it.
Yeah, and some of the predictive maintenance programs that tie into controllers are unbelievable. Like, technician gets a call that the elevator shut down. The machine room's up on the roof. The guy has to walk up 5 stories, check out what's going on, come back down to the 3rd floor, check out the door lock because it's broken, right? Here on dispatching, you could know that, hey, on your way up, check out the 3rd floor door lock. It will save you a lot of time overall. So predictive maintenance, preventative, like all that stuff is just, it's amazing. Obviously, it needs to be worked. It needs to be enhanced. We're still in the first stages of AI. God only knows where that world's going to go. But the tool, just like you said, to me, stuff seems like sci-fi. If I didn't see people using it in live presentations, I would say, oh, that's like pie in the sky. Can't ever happen. But it is amazing.
Yeah.
The younger generation may say, of course, that's the way it is. But like, I've come from, you know, 40 years in the business, you've seen it where guys are using hammer and chisel on things that now, robots are doing. So it's just interesting.
Yeah, no, it is evolving so rapidly, right? And
Yeah.
gonna keep changing, and so yeah, who knows, right? It's easy, I guess, to say, well, that's gonna you know put us out of business or whatever, but it's like people are gonna have to still be people, so there's gonna be work to do, but can we learn to use the tools and then make ourselves more effective along the way?
Yeah. Yeah. You have to be open to it, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. Um, so the next question, we talked a bit about the independents, the OEMs, and what I've found interesting just in the last few years is how much consolidation among independents. Right, some of the independents seem so eager, to grow, to bring in private equity, to acquire, and yet, I guess the question I'm having is it seems like there's strength in kind of staying local, right? I know a couple companies that come to mind that they really only operate in this one city, but they rock that one city. They dominate that one city, and they're very profitable, very highly respected. And it's like I can see the lure of, hey, we're going to go everywhere and do everything, and I can also see some huge risks. What are your thoughts on something like that?
I say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If they are doing it and they're profitable and they're good at it, my opinion would be stay the course. Champion, we seen, we're New York, Connecticut, New Jersey,
Hmm.
a little bit of Pennsylvania, but we seen, the big moves, Florida and Texas, some Washington, D.C. work. You know, we looked, we didn't really make the move because to us, there is opportunity there. But if you're not focusing on your main core here in New York, there's someone that's going to eat your lunch, right? So we made a decision, like, let's stay local in our, tri-state area, hone our systems, hone our processes, and do things the best that we can do rather than jump and go into other cities and do startups. I mean, it's all about your thought process, how much energy you want to spend in other areas, and your leadership team. If you have a leadership team that you can multiply and duplicate and get them out to other areas and keep, like what makes you great in one city might not mean you're going to be great in another city. It's different codes, it's different labor forces, it's different relationships. It's even just a different way to do business. They don't do business down in Florida the way they do business in New York. The whole process is different, and you know it might not work or it might work. So I think it's great. I love the tenacity of when somebody says, I'm going to go now that I'm good in New York. I'm going to go to this, and this, conquer the world. I love that. But you have to be careful. And all that startup costs a lot of money. You have to manage all of that. You got to build it. So it's definitely not an easy task by any means.
Yeah. Are you glad you've done it the way you have, building your empire, if you will, within a reachable distance? Or do you ever think, man, I wish I'd have gone to California and bought XYZ or
Yeah, I know. I've seen some companies across the country that were amazing opportunities. But overall, I think we made a smart decision to just stay more localized and kind of get our company, running very good versus, jumping around and having more stuff to focus on. I think for us, that was a better choice, I believe.
good? Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I've seen it more than once. Hey, let's go do this. Let's go to this state and then have to retreat, retract, sell whatever. Cause it's like, okay, they just spreads us too thin. And now we're traveling all the time and we can't even take
Yeah.
care of our home front because we're gone half the time.
Yeah. Yeah. For us, that wasn't a good option. We seen it and we took a pause. But we're doing we got just under 6,000 elevators right now that we're maintaining over at Champion Elevator. And that's a nice book of business. It's manageable. You got to manage it, you got to work it. But like, I don't know if bigger is always better, and I don't know if being out there everywhere is always what it's cracked up to be. It might sounds great, but I don't know. I don't know what I look like. I
No,
might be in a hospital.
yeah. It's a good point. It's a little bit like fighting a war on multiple fronts, right? If
Yeah,
you got one, or whatever. But if you start jumping out there, then I'm seeing a lot of independents gaining a lot of ground on some of these bigger companies,
yeah,
because it is hard to keep your eye on every single area, and it is difficult at times to find the right talent. And oh, hey, we just lost this person that had X number of years and they retired. Well, that's tough sometimes to find that person, and especially if you haven't raised them up through your ranks, or they don't want to relocate, or maybe you lost them to the competition because you weren't treating them well. Well, you could have multiple things going against you.
absolutely. Yep.
Yep.
It's a whole different terrain. Every city is its own terrain, and yeah. I mean, if you bought a company that was operating in that area and they were going to continue to operate it, maybe that's an okay model. But usually when people sell or want to get out, or whatever a transaction happens, usually they're not looking to stay doing the same thing that they were doing. So, yeah, I think it's a little bit risky doing moves like that,
Yeah. I mean, it works for some, and it sounds like you're pleased with the direction you took, and that's great. I do want to chat a little bit. We talked briefly about some of the supply chain, and I want to just bounce back to that for a second, because I was talking to a guy last week, I think, and he was saying that that rails aren't even made in the U.S. I was like, really? I mean, I didn't know that. I didn't know you had to go international to get them, and we were actually talking about the tariffs a little bit, and I was like, well, what do you do? He's like, nothing you can do. You just pay the tariff and you go on. So I don't know. Have you seen some of those issues, or how have you seen them, I guess, manifest for you?
It definitely goes over to the point of the globalization, the steel market, the permanent magnet market. These, if you wanted to manufacture a motor here in the U.S., just bring in you're going to bring in 80% of your raw material. So already you're going to be less competitive than anything anyone's going to get. So it's going to be impossible. Same thing with the rails. The rails, what once were something manufactured here, that's gotten so far out, that it's now you got China, you got Italy, you got Germany making rails, and, everybody's fighting for the market. There's not a lot of margin. Like when you look at the manufacturers, they're making it and they're keeping their people working in these other countries, but they're not really making crazy margin. And then by the time you bring it over here, you got the tariff, you got the shipping, you got insurance, you got now after it lands on the port, you have to ship it again. I would assume that after all that work is done, I would have to hope that somebody selling rails would be making a good margin, because it's not like the way it was. And I don't think it's going to get like the way it was, because it takes so much work. Yeah.
Obviously, steel manufacturing in the U.S. was a 100-year, multi-generational, endeavor. And then we've kind of walked away from a lot of it because of low margins, and because of, we can get some cheaper labor elsewhere, and taxes aren't favorable here, so we'll just let somebody else do it.
Even with, our scrap in the U.S., you have the small scrap guys and that collect all the little stuff, and you got the cans that go into the little machine at the shopping centers. The reality is that all goes to a next bigger guy that goes to a next bigger guy that actually ends up putting it on barges and sending it out to be
Wow.
processed overseas. So even our scrap, as fast as we're knocking down buildings and collecting cans and doing all sorts of things, our scrap, as we harvest that, it's going overseas. And then already they've got a competitive advantage because they've got the metal.
Sure.
Because they're even doing the recycling cheaper than we can do here. So yeah, it took a long time to get ourselves into this situation, and it would take a lot for us to get out of it. I hate to say it. I don't know if we could ever get out of it. I don't know if, the USA will ever become a manufacturing giant again, like it was in its day. But I think it does leave opportunities open for other good material suppliers to actually get their products into the U.S. Back, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, there was nothing that was really imported. Very few
Interesting.
items. Now there's a lot, and even for the majors, their stuff is made over.
I was going to say a lot of U.S. companies have outsourced their manufacturing, right? It still has the sticker on it, but it's like, oh yeah, we made that in Taiwan, or we had it made in China, or we,
100%,
Vietnam.
or
Yeah.
at least a lot of the components are, for sure. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Obviously, we've talked a little bit about kind of the sustainability of manufacturing, but curious, sustainability seems to be one of those topics that comes up a lot. Do you see a lot of this, greener elevator? I don't have a lot of visibility to that. I mean, I see it in cars, electric this and,
Every manufacturer, I believe, is always trying to make things more efficient, right? Because, if you're going head to head with another competitor, at some level, sustainability is going to come into the topic. And these architects are looking at it, developers are looking at it. There's greener projects. There's projects that are, focused on that, hyper focused on it, especially California. So they're looking at this kind of stuff pretty serious. You could, become not competitive just from that, from that perspective. You may have a product that's cheaper to install, all this other stuff, but if you're not meeting certain criteria, you might not get yourself the job. So it's smart for all of the companies to focus on sustainability, not only for what it really is, a better planet, but just to make sure they are going to have a place in the marketplace. Some of the things that I remember years ago, when a consultant spec would come out, it would say, give an alternate price for regenerative drives, the drive system that'll put energy back into an elevator. Now it's almost like, it used to be like $9,000 more. And you'd tell the owner, they'd say, what's this $9,000 extra cost? Oh, we could put power back into your building. Wipe it out. They would put a marker right over that. Get rid of it. We don't want to know nothing about it. Like 1 in every 50 would choose it. Now it's like so many people would choose it that it's almost in all the jobs. And I do believe that all the controller manufacturers and stuff, it's in a few years, regenerative drive will be in everything. Like, why would you not do it? Not that long ago, it was an alternate that people would put an X over. So again, sustainability, everything you hear, the global warming thing, everybody's got their lane, and, it's not going away. No one's going to wake up tomorrow and say, who cares about pollution and energy efficiency and a greener planet? Like, and if they do, I got to watch out how that's going to play out. Because if it works for them, that'd be a miracle.
Yeah.
It's always going to be here. And there are responsible ways to get all of this done. But again, that's a thing on a global scale that the OEMs and bigger manufacturers, they will have a jump on all of that. Kone with the Eco Disc, that was a real first time movement. Otis with the Gen 2. So slowly it'll come around, and every day it's getting greener. Like, I used to go into elevator machine rooms in the 80s, and there was carbon dust everywhere, and cobalt in the air, like the stuff that you would have, like you just wipe something, your hand will be black, and you're breathing that in. Nowadays, that's not happening. So, it's going to continue, and it's going to get better, and you have to keep moving with the progress.
For sure. Which leads us to the last question here, just kind of the vision forward. So if you had to predict elevator industry 2035, what do you think it would look like in terms of technology, competition, and the role of the independent?
Wow. So that's a big
That's
one.
a big bite.
It's a real big one. So I do believe at that point, almost everything will be, you know, in the predictive maintenance where right at dispatching, I don't think even right now of a building superintendent or a facility manager placing a call by phone to a dispatcher and then I think it's all going to happen at the controller level.
Wow. Yeah.
Where an alert will you might not even need dispatchers. An alert will probably be sent to an app based on a region where, you kind of know what you're walking into. If you have sensors and you're able to test vibrations of different parts of the equipment, there's enough ways to put sensors and predictive things where you're going to know what floors are being used the most. Hey, change these 3 rollers this month. Like people make assumptions. We're all human. Like, oh, the top floor gets used the most. And so we're going to change the rollers there and we're going to go down, down, down. And then what happens? You get an emergency call. You got to go somewhere else. You don't make it back the next month. Like here, the machinery will be able to tell you, like, you may think the top floor was used the most, but did you know that the 3rd floor of the building just had 2 move-ins and move-outs in a month period? The doors were held by furniture companies and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And that stuff is beat up, but that's the last place you might think of going. That's going to be the biggest dynamic change. A lot of AI will be, handling troubleshooting work. Mechanics are going to be, I believe mechanics will be able to do the maintenance on the parts they need to do the maintenance on and take less guesswork on the stuff that they struggle with now.
Right. Yeah. And it sounds like the tools are there. Even, some of what you're describing is available now, maybe just not implemented now. Like, a lot of the remote monitoring, it's like, okay, we have stuff to do that. And I think it's moving forward, but got a long way to go to actually get a lot of those installed.
Yeah, well, it's easy. It's even like a mindset. Like right now, if we would go to every one of our customers and say, hey, we want to put this predictive maintenance component on your system so that you could tell, we could know faster, they would not, I don't think they would engage it. They would look at it kind of like the idea of the regenerative drive. Like, well, if you're doing the maintenance, you should probably know when it's going to break, right? Like that's the mindset. For some clients, there are people that would love this idea, put it on all my buildings. But the reality is, as a whole, I think a lot of people would say, I don't think so. But as controllers are coming with this product built in it and stuff, and it's just a flip a switch on, or it's baked into your monthly maintenance price, I think it'll just be an acceptable thing that if company A has it, company B has it, and company C don't have it, I think company C is going to have a problem, keeping up with the other companies. So it's again a movement that's going to have to happen. I think all elevator systems are going to end up having some kind of remote monitoring, maybe fees built in, fees built out. Again, it's a revenue generator. Everybody loves that idea. So there'll definitely be subscription-based monitoring services and stuff like that. I think it's just inevitable.
Sure. I'm sure as they understand the benefits and hey, if we can prevent shutdowns because we can, anticipate that this is going to, this is vibrating, it's going to go bad, this machine's going to fall apart, then I think it's just kind of, making sure they understand what's there to be had.
Yeah, 100%.
Very cool. Thank you for being here with me today. It's been a lot of fun to discuss all these different aspects that you've been addressing.
Hey, you're very welcome. Anything I could do to help the industry. And, I love what you're doing. Keep doing the great work you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome.
Thank you for listening to the Elevator Careers Podcast, sponsored by the Allred Group, a leader in elevator industry recruiting. Please visit our YouTube channel at Elevator Careers or check us out online at elevatorcareers.net. Please like and subscribe, and until next time, stay safe.